Hey everyone, welcome back to another ASOTU Edge webinar. Today we're going to be talking about AI-powered profits, converting shoppers into buyers. We are going to be joined by Danielle Walden. She is the Manager of Business Operations at Upstart, as well as Evan Driscoll, who's the Used Car Sales Manager at Audi of Jacksonville. Take it away, Kyle.
All right, thanks, Anne-Marie. You got me today. We're hanging out. We're doing a webinar. We got a couple of my new friends, my old friends, but we're talking about how, connecting customers from an online situation to an offline situation, which so many customers, we're seeing over 97% of people still desiring that interaction, can leverage additional tools, things like AI-powered financing or the way that your process is, to make sure that customers feel comfortable. And obviously, and I'm excited because I'm going to talk to Evan about this. And I've been asking so many dealers, like, what's it feel like right now? How are you interacting with your salespeople to make sure that they have the education enough to educate the customer, especially in a time tariffs questions are all on everyone's mind. How do you make sure that your processes are such that the customer doesn't have to worry about that part, so you can focus on the educational aspect of the broader cultural impact of things like tariffs or things like affordability? So I'm excited to juxtapose what Evan is dealing with right now on the showroom in the inventory, and we're going to talk to Danielle about what she's seeing broadly across the country. Let's not listen to me anymore. Let's get the real experts, the people that are doing it. Let's go ahead and bring Evan into the webinar. Let's go. So Evan, I think, one of the big questions on everyone's mind is not just how, obviously we've got a whole topic around digital retailing, the digital customer interaction, but we'd be remiss, right now you're dealing with it. You're most of the way into the month. How is kind of the store responding to a lot of the conversations around tariffs and affordability and whether supply will be there? And how are you just managing the day to day right now at the store with that?
Yeah, we haven't had too many issues with tariffs yet in terms of used car pricing. I don't think we've seen a noticeable increase because it's such a day to day thing still. However, we have seen definitely a drop in the amount of new cars that are coming to us from the port. And we've also seen an increase in customers who are very interested in moving forward on a deal now because they don't want to deal with tariffs that might possibly come in the next few months. So we have seen a drop in new car traffic coming from the port, but we've definitely seen an increase in customers wanting to buy now.
Yeah. So when you come up upon that demand equation is okay, we have a little bit less coming in. We've got customers wanting to buy now. I'm sure it becomes kind of a little bit of a thing for the salespeople to kind of handle. How are you working with them to make sure that the communications are just timely?
So we speak with them once a week just to kind of bring them up to speed as to what's going on with what we know from Audi. Audi has still kind of, not really given us all the info that we need to kind of inform customers because we really don't know what's going on.
Right.
If the tariffs do come through, the prices are going to go up on new cars, which in turn is going to drive up the price of used cars. But we haven't really seen that come to fruition yet because it's only been, a week or two now. So,
yeah,
for the time being, we try to keep the salespeople focused on just their day to day and not worry too much about what's going to happen, because whatever happens is going to happen to everyone, not just us. So
right. I love that approach of just, obviously you're getting enough information to the salespeople and not worried about, how the rest of the world is working, controlling what you control. There's a ton of demand inbound. We're going to bring in Danielle, and Danielle has been a friend now for a few years and always ready to chop it up. Danielle, welcome to the webinar, first of all. But I wanted to get your perspective because more broadly, especially when you think about having a product that enables, retailing at a different pace than maybe we've been used to, and, enabling salespeople, enabling sales managers to give buyers a journey that gives them that confidence. How are you seeing that implemented right now across the country when you're talking to not just Audi Jacksonville here, but also dealers across the country, and like, hey, we kind of like, this is home base. We're not having to worry about that so much. Are you seeing that help the entire process along quicker?
Yeah. I mean, with working with dealers all over the country, everybody kind of has different challenges that they're trying to overcome, but ultimately it comes down to working with a solution that does give you that flexibility to really meet the customer where they're at, whether they want to start the process online and finish in store, or whether they come into the showroom and they go through a little bit and maybe want to finish online. We like the fact that through our systems, it can be really customized and really tailored, and ultimately that, breeds that trust and confidence within the customers.
Danielle, as Evan talks about, the fact that affordability is still a thing, and making sure that customers can find the right vehicles. We've also seen squeezing margins over the last few years, over the last really 2 years since the height of the pandemic, both on the new car side, but also on the used car side, as wholesale and retail numbers get a bit tighter. Pocketbooks continue to get constrained because of, available funds. How can technology right now be leveraged to make sure that dealers are maximizing their profitability, even in a time when margin compression is at a very high pace?
Yeah, and that's a big concern that everybody's dealing with, is that compression. Honestly, I think it really comes down to leveraging tools like AI-powered financing to really deal with that, because ultimately it's going to approve customers at a different way. And, our system, specifically, we use 1,000 different data points to predict repayment and to drive interest. And this really helps, get more borrowers approved. And ultimately, it allows people to move quicker, and dealers to get through the process faster. And with affordability being on top of everybody's mind, partnering with lenders that have these solutions really allows everyone to succeed. So ultimately, I think leveraging AI-powered financing is the way to go.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, it in a little bit of a difference to like what's been happening with everyone, you all have taken a little bit different approach from the way that you actually conduct business from a digital perspective, both online and in the store. When you think about the transition to a much more digital native sales process, what have been some of the things that you've seen work really well as your team has taken that on?
Well, we've definitely focused very heavily on digital retail and digital purchasing, because it's become such a very common thing in today's society ever since COVID kind of happened. So we focus heavily on digital retail on our website, making sure the customers have all the numbers up front before they even walk in the store, if that's what they want to do. Because if you're not willing to do that, someone else is, and they're gonna sell those cars to your customers. So we've embraced it as much as possible.
Yeah, I think back, 10, 15 years ago, and even sometimes, just as of recent, there's a lot of dealerships that are hesitant to, explore financing options, explore full pricing, all of that with a customer when they feel like they're still in kind of a browsing mode. Do you find that kind of moves people from browsing to buying a bit more, as opposed to kind of leaving them in a very shopping behavior state, and it allows you to kind of move the process forward a bit quicker?
Yeah, absolutely. Because some people, if they're in the browsing and shopping phase, and then they see like, oh, I can maybe get this car for this amount of money. Okay, now I'm a little bit more of a serious buyer, and they see, how nice the deal actually can look for them. It can definitely pull them down into the funnel a little bit lower, into the buying funnel. So, yeah, it definitely helps, I think. And I don't think it gives people too many options and confuses them. It's pretty straightforward. So, I mean,
I want to make sure that we're clear here, because I think, the kind of like history of Upstart, people know it as kind of a tool, right? Maybe they learned about it through it being a showroom tool to enable showroom process, or maybe they learned about it as an online digital retailing tool where it's a bit of a lead gen opportunity. But there's so much more in there than that. So be very specific real quick, and let's dive into exactly what Upstart is, both as a lender and as an opportunity to look across lenders to enable like decision making at the point of the deal?
Yeah, I love how you kind of tee that up. Well, honestly, if you think about Upstart, you think about it as it is a tool, but the real bang to our buck is that AI-powered financing. And essentially what we do is we look at so many different data points to look at a customer's borrowing potential and their approval potential. And we look at things not like a traditional lender. We don't look at a FICO. That's maybe one of the things, but there's a myriad of other things that we're looking at to see, is this customer going to get approved? And ultimately through the AI, we can determine based off of their education, their background, their history, what that can look like. And what we're really doing is giving people opportunities within files and maybe first-time buyers that other lenders maybe won't give them a chance to. We're giving them those opportunities. And what we're seeing is with this AI-powered financing, we're able to get a lot more approvals, and dealers are allowed to work a lot faster. And we don't have the constraints like typical lenders where it takes a long time. It's instant, it's immediate, and it doesn't matter what time of day it is. We can go through things without the need for rehashing. So we're super excited about that and getting it out there to more dealers, and ultimately moving in a more AI-driven focus, because we see that as the future.
Evan,
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, one of the big questions that has been on the tip of people's tongue over the last 4 or 5 years, and probably, if tariffs are enacted, will continue to be a hot topic, will be affordability as prices increase, as interest rates stay high. How are you leveraging tools like AI-powered financing and making sure that people are getting options to make sure that consumer confidence is high as they go through that kind of like end part of the buying process?
Yeah, I mean, even though rates are still, much higher than I think we're used to from the COVID days, that doesn't mean that banks are not competitive right now. And, using AI financing is just a really good way to get an immediate approval with a good rate. So you kind of have at least a baseline to work off of, where it's like, hey, sometimes these credit unions, it takes them hours, maybe even days to get an approval to get some sort of special rate, where it's like, hey, I have a full approval right now through the AI for whatever rate it is. We have a way to go. So we can keep moving the deal forward, knowing that no matter what happens with the credit unions, we at least have a way to go right now with the AI, and we don't have to wait 2-3 hours to get an approval to move a deal forward. So, So anyway, that's why the AI financing is really so good, because it doesn't matter what time of day it is, what day it is, I can get the approval no matter what, as long as the deal fits the structure that the AI wants. So time kills deals at the end of the day. So as long as I have an approval and a way to go, I can keep the deal moving forward, and I can deal with the rate later.
Danielle, we're actually seeing literally right now, Evan, he's got people, going all around him. It's busy. He's got a headphone in, a phone ringing. We had to get him off and on a couple times just to be able to get that. The pace of retail right now is so fast. And we've seen, I was looking at JD Power data just last week in the increase from the end of March till now, just about a month in shopper behavior coming to the showroom. The speed of the deal is extremely important right now. What data are you seeing when it comes to when shoppers engage in a digital process? Is there a higher level of conversion faster? Is the data proving out in that?
Absolutely. I mean, ultimately, the consumers are starting the process online when they're looking for a vehicle and they're wanting to move quick. And having a solution that can take that customer from where they are in the beginning of the process and move them rapidly towards buying is extremely important. And we're finding that, I think the data is like 95 or 96% of customers obviously start the process on a phone, a smartphone, a laptop, et cetera, and they want to move really, really quickly. So being able to meet those customers where they are is extremely important, because ultimately digital is where it's at, and that's where the customers are starting the process.
What is the change management look like when it comes to something like this? Say someone's very, very used to their finance process, their in-store process, their online process. When it comes to change management, it seems like there would be, a bit of a heavy lift. And how have you seen dealers tackle the change management of going like, oh no, I'm going to go click submit to these 5 lenders from the F&I office because I think that might work for me, to, oh no, now I can enable kind of anyone in the store and the customer to kind of be their own, I don't know, be their own buyer for whatever it's worth, right?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately with any new solution, there is some level of change management, but what we've really tried to do is make things simple and, really partner dealers with a dedicated dealer success manager who's an expert in this that can kind of guide them through this process. But ultimately, with things being so digital, it's pretty seamless when it comes down to implementation and the rollout of it. The key is to have, at the store level, a champion at the store who's really going to really kind of champion the process and own it. I can say, working closely with Evan at Audi Jacksonville, I was involved when we initially rolled them out, and he was a huge champion in the success that they've had. And ultimately, it comes down to that. But honestly, when it comes to change management, it's more about the mindset of the store, and are they ready and willing to make the change and to see that success? And that's really like 90% of it. 10% is the actual execution of it, but really the mindset going into it is so important. But I really like to tell dealers that if you're going to make this decision and you're going to really go digital first, go all in and make sure that you work with a solution that can really support you through that and be there to assist you.
As we wrap up, Evan, I'd love to hear from you. You especially are, particularly focused on the used car department. Obviously, you're cross-functional in the dealership, but particularly focused on used. What would be an encouragement right now that you would give dealers of something they could put a limited focus on and be very intentional with to see success over the next 30, 45 days from your perspective?
I would say that, you need to keep an eye on your, I guess I would definitely look at your inventory, because within the next, couple months, I think that prices will eventually go up on these tariffed cars, assuming that the tariffs hold through. So you don't want to acquire the wrong vehicles right now. So, a lot of people I see are stocking up on American-made brands because they don't think that those cars are going to be hit with tariffs. But at the end of the day, parts from certain vehicles are going to be tariffed no matter what. So everything's going to eventually go up, I imagine, assuming these stick through. And then, having the AI financing is always just it's a good little tool to have in your back pocket, because no matter what, I can always work with the AI financing to just get an immediate deal. So I can always just keep moving the deal forward. And, when you use Upstart's financing, the nice thing is when you have an approval, they give you a full deal structure based on different cash down options, different terms. So you don't have to rehash your deal constantly to try to get, okay, what if the customer wants to do 1,000 down? What if they want to do 0 down? What if they want to do a trade? What if they want to do this? Upstart lays it all out in a nice grid. So I can basically work with that without having to rehash. So it's just a really nice tool to have in your back pocket when you're trying to sell a lot of cars. So.
As May is looming and the summer months are almost upon us, Danielle, when you're encouraging dealers right now, if there was like a limited focus and a place to focus on, what are you encouraging them to make sure that they've got their hands around and don't miss?
I think that they need to really focus on keeping things extremely transparent at their dealerships and ensure that they're streamlining their processes. There's so many areas within the car buying processes that it can break and there could be a disconnect, but ensuring that from the start to finish and everywhere in between, that process is streamlined. Everybody knows exactly where they need to be and everybody works together, and that communication with the customer is so important. So that's where I would really push dealers, is to really look back at their own process, ensure that if there is any gaps or there's any areas where you're like, this is kind of an area where we drop the ball, or maybe we lose a customer or a lead. Let's look at working with solutions that can kind of help streamline that and leverage tools like AI to automate and make things simple and easier for them.
That's awesome. Well, hey, I really thank both of you for giving us a bit of your time. Evan, I know you're busy and excited to watch what you're doing with this kind of digital transformation. And Danielle, always fun and great to hear your insights as to what you're seeing across the country. We're going to see both of you at ASOTU in just a few short weeks, and you'll be speaking a bit more on this topic and in a bit more detail. and can't wait to hear from you on that. So make sure, mark your calendars. It's going to be May 13th through 15th. We will be just south of Baltimore in Hanover, Maryland, and hanging out with these two and a lot of your other friends trying to figure out exactly what to do right now about the things that we're dealing with in the auto industry. We'll see you there, and thanks for joining us on the webinar today.
All right, everyone, that's a wrap. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Evan. Thank you, Kyle. If y'all are interested in this, two things: you can join us at ASOTUCon. We will be talking about it with Upstart there, or you can go to our website, go to media, drop down to webinars, and you'll be able to catch the replay or share it with someone who might be interested. We'll see you next time. Thanks for being here.